And today we're looking at this Hoover Washer Dryer. It's the VHD Sensor Dry model, and the model number is VHW654D. So washing's fine, the dryer is not drying. First thing we need to do is, we've pulled it out from under the worktop. I'm going to take the top off. There are 3 screws at the back. I'm just going to take those off now. Here's the lid off. One thing I forgot to say is make sure you have disconnected the mains before taking the lid off. Additionally, the socket I used was a 7mm metric socket. That was for the 3 screws. And now we're looking at the top from the rear. This section here is for the dryer. So basically, I'll explain what happens. There are some heating elements inside this metal block. There's a fan here. The fan will blow hot air through here into the front of the washing machine, so it comes in at the top of the door, so it blows down. I don't know how well I can see it, I might need to take the back off. But basically, there's a pipe on the back of the drum, and the hot air comes out and goes through a condenser, where there's cold water that is dropped through the condenser every now and then. And that cools down the hot, steamy air and turns it into water, which then goes out of the normal drain. So, one of the things we need to do, check the motor is spinning freely, which it is, so the motor is not jammed. We have 2 thermostatic cutouts here, so we're just going to check these. Neither of the 2 of those have cutouts, so it hasn't overheated. And oh, hang on, I think I can see what's wrong with this one. There we go. Right, so that is the heating element there. The heating element sticks out of the side of that block, and as you can see, the connector has melted. So let's investigate that further. I have pulled apart the heater housing. So there are 5 bolts on top of the housing. So just undo all the bolts. They are the smaller bolts, so I'll tell you what I'll do, I will show you after I put it back together. But these are the bigger bolts, and then the smaller bolts are these here, which I've taken out. As you can see, it's a little bit dirty, not terrible. We're going to give it a clean in there. We don't want it getting clogged up. So we can now see the elements. Basically, I wanted to visually inspect the elements, make sure there's nothing obviously wrong. Now, they've got a little bit of burning, but nothing major. I think they look okay. So what I've done is, I've stuck my meter on. We're getting 42 ohms. That sounds like a perfectly sensible resistance for a single element heater block. So what I'm going to do as well is, let me just get one of my meter leads. So to make sure that that is not shorting to the casing, we'll just clip the meter onto the casing, and then we'll basically check. So that's showing as open, and then we'll do the other terminal, so we're just switching terminals. So make sure we've got good contact between the casing and the element. Again, it's open, so there's no short in the element, sorry, there's no short to the ground, and there's no issue with the resistance of the element. So that looks good. I'm going to put it back together after giving it a clean. Lugs of the element. While there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the element, the lugs are blackened, so I'm just going to get a flat file, and I'm basically going to remove any corrosion from those, make them nice and clean and shiny, and I'm going to put some new crimp connectors on. So I'm just going to do that now off camera. Reassembling this now, I've cleaned up the contacts on the element, and I'll just show you how it was disassembled. So again, we've got the smaller screws, not the large ones, not the mount. These mount the housing onto the drum. So you've got one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. So you take all of those out. What you need to do next is, I've taken the front panel off to make it easier to get in. You'll see the rubber door seal slides over this metal housing here, and then, where is it now? There's a big spring. Big spring loops around, basically goes around there's like a lip in the rubber that you can see there. So this spring goes on that lip, so you just join the 2 ends of the spring together, and that goes around that to basically hold tension on that rubber seal to keep it on the metal housing. It is stuck together with silicone. So in order to break the seal, what you want to do is basically lever very gently. You just want to get it just under this top lip. Don't try and lever the whole housing, or you're just going to be trying to rip this off the drum. you basically just want to get your screwdriver under that lip there, like so. Just lever it up gently all the way around until the seal breaks. So it's like an RTV silicone seal. I'm going to put it back together and see if it's leaking any air. It might be okay because it's had silicone in it previously. It's probably got enough to reseal when I put it back together. If not, I'll stick some RTV silicone in there and let it dry. Yeah, I'm just going to basically reposition this and then bolt it back together first. Housing is now tightly bolted back together. The next job is to take the spring. I need to loop it around the back. Loop around the back of this metal part here. Once I've got it around the front, I'm going to clip it together. So it's basically just hook ends on it. I'm going to pull it up, the metal housing, and then I'm going to put the rubber seal on, pull the rubber seal up, and then slide the spring over the rubber. So let's do that. It's back on. I have to say, so far that's been the most difficult part of this job, getting that back on. I had to get a screwdriver down the back and try and sort of coerce it into place, and also put my fingers up through the vent in there and try and align it into place. That was quite tricky. Now you can see the spring basically just needs sliding down into this groove here. That will then secure that, so I'll do that off camera. Hopefully the last job to do is to replace this melted crimp connector. So I was going to cut this off and crimp a new contact on. The longest part of this job so far was finding the right crimp. And there we go, got the crimp tool ready. And the wire's been cut, ready to go, so I'll get the crimps on. It's on, we need to pull on it to make sure it's not going to fall off. We've cleaned up the contacts. I just need to plug this back in now. Going back on, so we've got a screw here. Screw here, 2 screws in front of the drawer. We need to click the drawer back into place. It's got some click tabs at the bottom there. There are clip tabs on the sides, which you'll probably break one of them off when you're taking the panel off. As you can see, I've dropped one on the floor. This is about my 4th or 5th time repairing this machine. I think I break a clip off every time. They're really nasty, cheap plastic. You need to get a little screwdriver in there and just sort of prise them back slightly so you don't break them as you're taking the panel off. Anyway, we're getting this screw back together. We'll stick the lid on and we'll stick it on dry and see if it works. I ran it for a minute. I've just pulled the plug out again, so I'm not sticking my hands over live mains. And okay, that's hot, so that's working. Okay, I'll put the lid on and put some clothes in and see if it dries them.